Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and share it with your friends so we can keep creating more content. Is it true that we came from monkeys? In today's video, you're going to discover what science knows about our evolution and one of the most intriguing questions of all time. What is the origin of the first human being? Our planet has been and still is inhabited by thousands of species of animals. Many are very similar to each other, like close relatives, such as the lion, the tiger, and the jaguar. The African elephant and the Asian elephant. Cattle and buffaloes. Humans and the chimpanzee? Why is our closest relative a monkey? Why aren't there other species of humans? Throughout history, there have been several species of humans, but only one survived, Homo sapiens. Whatever allowed us to thrive while the others disappeared has everything to do with a significant advantage Homo sapiens had during evolution. Until the early 19th century, the belief that God created man in his image was the norm, even among scientists. Humans and all living beings were believed to be the result of divine creation. But at the beginning of the 19th century, several naturalists began to notice patterns in living beings that challenged this belief. Among them, a young English naturalist named Charles Darwin embarked on a journey around the world to better understand this story. When he visited the Galapagos Islands, off the coast of Ecuador, he observed that birds from neighboring islands had beaks that were especially adapted to eat the seeds of the island where they lived. Strange, right? Why would birds that are so similar, living on nearby islands, have such different beaks? It seemed like the environment had some influence on the shape of the birds' beaks. Maybe survival wasn't a divine will but rather the result of a natural process. A process that only allowed the organisms best suited to the environment to survive. Darwin and other naturalists repeatedly tested and proved this theory. They concluded that the environment applies pressure on living beings, selecting those with characteristics that give them a reproductive advantage. Some advantage that allows them to survive and have healthy offspring. Whether it's fur that helps survive the cold, camouflage to catch more prey, or a beak capable of reaching fruits no other bird can. Darwin questioned, if this pressure happens to all animals and plants, why would it be different for humans? If the environment changes over millennia, humans and the species alive today probably changed as well. Of course. He said, they went through a process of natural selection and are not exactly the same species that lived thousands or millions of years ago. We Homo sapiens have characteristics that allowed us to thrive through natural selection, while Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalensis, and many others became extinct. We have larger brains, with more neurons, capable of providing the intelligence to cook food and produce complex tools. We can communicate with elaborate words, create, and imagine things that don't even exist. Clear advantages for our survival. But none of this happens suddenly. The evolution of species is a gradual process. A monkey giving birth to a human baby doesn't represent our evolution. It doesn't work like that. The differences between us and our ancestral monkey happen gradually. A monkey with a 0.1% bigger brain can survive and reproduce better. The slightly larger brain gives some advantage, and that characteristic is selected. The offspring of this monkey with a 0.1% bigger brain are more likely to survive and be selected. The children of the children too. If the bigger brain offers a reproductive advantage, gradually, bigger brains and skulls will be increasingly selected with each generation, creating populations with larger brains. These changes accumulate to the point where the monkey has a brain and skull so much larger that they are too different from the original ancestral monkey to be considered the same species. If environmental pressure demands a bigger brain, something entirely random, that species of ancestral monkey will continue to exist for some time until its characteristics no longer offer reproductive advantages, and that ancestral species will become extinct. Meanwhile, the monkeys with bigger brains will thrive. Either way, that famous figure we learned in school of a monkey giving rise to various species of humans is wrong. Evolution is not a straight line, it's more like this. But who exactly gave rise to the first human? Well, if we consider the first human to be the first monkey of the Homo genus, we need to go back 2 million years, when a population of monkeys in Africa began to differentiate and gain advantages over other species. Currently, we know that the Homo genus evolved in the African continent from populations of the genus Australopithecus, about 2 million years ago. Gradual changes in this population of Australopithecus gave rise to the first Homo, the first human, the Homo habilis species. Homo habilis lived between 2.3 to 1.6 million years ago and had a large skull, but still less than half the size of our skull today. Homo habilis already used stone tools and walked fully upright. It was from Homo habilis that other human species likely evolved. A population of Homo habilis eventually gave rise to a species that developed even more refined skills in toolmaking and use, Homo erectus. Homo erectus was possibly the human species that lived the longest. It appeared about 2 million years ago, and the last populations lived in Indonesia until quite recently, about 100,000 years ago. Homo erectus, besides possibly being the first human species to control fire, was also the first to leave Africa, migrating to Europe and Asia through the Middle East. Several human species emerged from populations of Homo erectus, such as Homo heidelbergensis, which was already quite similar to us. The Homo heidelbergensis species spread across Europe and Asia, giving rise to at least 2 different species. One population gave rise to Homo neanderthalensis, the famous Neanderthal, who lived in Europe and Asia between 430,000 and 40,000 years ago. They were slightly shorter and more robust than us. They already had complex technology, built houses, made clothes, and perhaps even had complex forms of language and art. And about 300,000 years ago, another population of Homo heidelbergensis, from East Africa, gave rise to Homo sapiens, our species. We know all this based on fossils found in various parts of the world and through DNA analysis. Recent DNA studies have shown that almost all human populations outside of Africa possess 1 to 4% Neanderthal DNA, which means that thousands of years ago, populations of Homo sapiens and Homo neanderthalensis reproduced and had children. The Neanderthals were extinct over 40,000 years ago, but this trace of Neanderthal DNA remains in our genome to this day. Despite all this diversity of human species, the environment was relentless, and all except Homo sapiens ended up extinct. If they were alive today, other human species would be our closest relatives, not chimpanzees and bonobos, 2 African monkeys. But these 2 monkeys catch our attention. They are too similar to us. We all have flat faces, we are highly intelligent and social species, and we can manipulate and create tools, just like chimpanzees and bonobos. DNA analysis comparing our DNA with that of chimpanzees, for example, shows that we share a lot in common. About 97 to 99% of our DNA is identical. After all, maybe we didn't come from monkeys, maybe we are monkeys? The more similar 2 species are, the more recently their last common ancestor lived. Around 8 million years ago, long before a population of Australopithecus gave rise to Homo habilis, a split occurred. 2 populations of an ancestral monkey became so different that they were no longer the same species. The lineage that gave rise to humans separated from the lineage that gave rise to chimpanzees and bonobos. And even after millions of years, we still share many traits with these animals. All the evidence we've seen so far, comparative anatomy, fossils, and DNA, helps us reconstruct the evolutionary history of humans and shows us something very important: we didn't come from monkeys. We are monkeys. Saying that a species belongs to a group, like the group of monkeys, means that it and the other species in that group share the same evolutionary history. Whales are entirely different from cats, but both have a common ancestor and are part of the same group, mammals. If we call monkeys the marmosets, gorillas, and chimpanzees, it means they all share a common ancestor. And if that common ancestor is the same as ours, we are all part of the same group, the same family. So, yes, we are all monkeys. And what's the problem with that? Monkeys are incredible creatures, very intelligent and curious. Recognizing that we are part of a group of living beings and part of nature can help us better connect with the environment, our beliefs, and our origins. If you're enjoying learning about your origins, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. It helps the channel grow and bring more content like this. A big hug, go stock up on bananas, and I'll see you in the next video.